Educational technology is the effective use of technological tools in learning. As a concept, it concerns an array of tools, such as media, machines and networking hardware, as well as considering underlying theoretical perspectives for their effective application. Educational technology is not restricted to high technology. Nonetheless, electronic educational technology, also called e-learning, has become an important part of society today, comprising an extensive array of digitization approaches, components and delivery methods. For example, M-learning emphasizes mobility, but is otherwise indistinguishable in principle from educational technology. Educational technology includes numerous types of media that deliver text, audio, images, animation, and streaming video, and includes technology applications and processes such as audio or videotape, satellite TV, CD-ROM, and computer-based learning, as well as local intranet, extranet and web-based learning. Information and communication systems, whether freestanding or based on either local networks or the Internet in network learning, underlie many e-learning processes. Theoretical perspectives and scientific testing influence instructional design. The application of theories of human behavior to educational technology derives input from instructional theory, learning theory, educational psychology, media psychology and human performance technology. Educational technology and e-learning can occur in or out of the classroom. It can be self-paced, asynchronous learning or may be instructor-led, synchronous learning. It is suited to distance learning and in conjunction with face-to-face teaching, which is termed blended learning. Educational technology is used by learners and educators in homes, schools, businesses, and other settings. Definition: Ritchie defined educational technology as the study and ethical practice of facilitating learning and improving performance by creating, using and managing appropriate technological processes and resources. The Association for Educational Communications and Technology denoted instructional technology as the theory and practice of design, development, utilization, management, and evaluation of processes and resources for learning. As such, educational technology refers to all valid and reliable applied education sciences, such as equipment, as well as processes and procedures that are derived from scientific research, and in a given context may refer to theoretical, algorithmic or heuristic processes. It does not necessarily imply physical technology. Scope: educational technology refers to the use of both physical hardware and educational theoretics. It encompasses several domains, including learning theory, computer-based training, online learning, and where mobile technologies are used, M-learning. Accordingly, there are several discrete aspects to describing the intellectual and technical development of educational technology. Educational technology is the theory and practice of educational approaches to learning. Educational technology is technological tools and media that assist in the communication of knowledge, and its development and exchange. Educational technology for learning management systems, such as tools for student and curriculum management, and education management information systems. Educational technology itself is an educational subject. Such courses may be called computer studies or information and communication technology. Related terms: educational technology is an inclusive term for the tools and the theoretical foundations for supporting learning and teaching. Educational technology is not restricted to high technology. However, modern electronic educational technology is an important part of society today. Educational technology encompasses e-learning, instructional technology, information and communication technology in education, edtech, learning technology, multimedia learning, technology-enhanced learning, computer-based instruction, computer-managed instruction, computer-based training, computer-assisted instruction or computer-aided instruction, internet-based training, flexible learning, web-based training, online education, digital educational collaboration, distributed learning, computer-mediated communication, cyber learning, and multimodal instruction, virtual education, personal learning environments, networked learning, virtual learning environments, m-learning, and digital education. Each of these numerous terms has had its advocates, who point out potential distinctive features. However, Moore sees these various terminologies as emphasizing particular features such as digitization approaches, components or delivery methods rather than being fundamentally dissimilar in concept or principle. For example, M-learning emphasizes mobility, which may allow for altered timing, location, accessibility and context of learning. Nevertheless, its purpose and conceptual principles are those of educational technology. In practice, as technology has advanced, the particular, narrowly defined, aspect that was initially emphasized by name has blended into the general field of educational technology. As a further example, virtual learning, in a narrowly defined semantic sense, implies entering the environmental simulation within a virtual world. For example, in treating post-traumatic stress disorder. In practice, a virtual education course refers to any instructional course in which all, or at least a significant portion, is delivered by the Internet. Virtual is used in that broader way to describe a course that is not taught in a classroom face-to-face but through a substitute mode that can conceptually be associated virtually with classroom teaching, which means that people do not have to go to the physical classroom to learn. Accordingly, virtual education refers to a form of distance learning in which course content is delivered by various methods such as course management, applications, multimedia resources, and video conferencing. Bernard Luskin, an educational technology pioneer, advocated that the E of e-learning should be interpreted to mean exciting, energetic, enthusiastic, emotional, extended, excellent, and educational. In addition to electronic, Parks suggested that the E should refer to everything, everyone, engaging, easy. These broad interpretations focus on new applications and developments, as well as learning theory and media psychology. History. Helping people learn in ways that are easier, faster, surer, or less expensive can be traced back to the emergence of very early tools, such as paintings on cave walls. Various types of abacus have been used. Writing slates and blackboards have been used for at least a millennium. From their introduction, books and pamphlets have held a prominent role in education. From the early 20th century, duplicating machines such as the mimeograph and gesture and stencil devices were used to produce short copy runs for classroom or home use. The use of media for instructional purposes is generally traced back to the first decade of the 20th century with the introduction of educational films and Sidney Pressy's mechanical teaching machines. The first or multiple-choice, large-scale assessment was the Army Alpha, used to assess the intelligence and more specifically the aptitudes of World War I military recruits. Further large-scale use of technologies was employed in training soldiers during and after World War II using films and other mediated materials, such as overhead projectors. The concept of hypertext is traced to description of Memex by Vannevar Bush in 1945. Slide projectors were widely used during the 1950s in educational institutional settings. Cuisenaire rods were devised in the 1920s and saw widespread use from the late 1950s. In 1960, the University of Illinois initiated a classroom system based on linked computer terminals where students could access informational resources on the particular course while listening to the lectures that were recorded via some form of remotely linked device like a television or audio device. In the mid-1960s, Stanford University psychology professors Patrick Suppes and Richard C. Atkinson experimented with using computers to teach arithmetic and spelling via teletypes to elementary school students in the Palo Alto Unified School District in California. Stanford's education program for gifted youth is descended from those early experiments. In 1963, Bernard Luskin installed the first computer in a community college for instruction. Working with Stanford and others, he helped develop computer-assisted instruction. Working with the Rand Corporation, Luskin's landmark UCLA dissertation in 1970 analyzed obstacles to computer-assisted instruction. In 1971, Ivan Illich published a hugely influential book called Deschooling Society, in which he envisioned learning webs as a model for people to network the learning they needed. The 1970s and 1980s saw notable contributions in computer-based learning by Murray Turoff and star Roxanne Hiltz at the New Jersey Institute of Technology, as well as developments at the University of Guelph in Canada. In 1976, Bernard Luskin launched Coastline Community College as if college without walls, using television station KOCE-TV as a vehicle. In the UK, the Council for Educational Technology supported the use of educational technology, in particular administering the government's National Development Programme in Computer-Aided Learning and the Microelectronics Education Programme. By the mid-1980s, accessing course content became possible at many college libraries. In computer-based training or computer-based learning, the learning interaction was between the student and computer drills or micro-world simulations. Digitized communication and networking in education started in the mid-1980s. Educational institutions began to take advantage of the new medium by offering distance learning courses using computer networking for information. Early e-learning systems based on computer-based learning, training often replicated autocratic teaching styles whereby the role of the e-learning system was assumed to be for transferring knowledge, as opposed to systems developed later based on computer-supported collaborative learning, which encouraged the shared development of knowledge. Video conferencing was an important forerunner to the educational technologies known today. This work was especially popular with museum education. Even in recent years, video conferencing has risen in popularity to reach over 20,000 students across the United States and Canada in 2008-2009. Disadvantages of this form of educational technology are readily apparent. Image and sound quality is often grainy or pixelated. Video conferencing requires setting up a type of mini television studio within the museum for broadcast. Space becomes an issue, and specialized equipment is required for both the provider and the participant. The Open University in Britain and the University of British Columbia began a revolution of using the Internet to deliver learning, making heavy use of web-based training, online distance learning and online discussion between students. Practitioners such as Harrison put heavy emphasis on the use of learning networks. With the advent of World Wide Web in the 1990s, teachers embarked on the method using emerging technologies to employ multi-object-oriented sites, which are text-based online virtual reality systems, to create course websites along with simple sets of instructions for its students. By 1994, the first online high school had been founded. In 1997, Grazier described criteria for evaluating products and developing technology-based courses that include being portable, replicable, scalable, affordable, and having a high probability of long-term cost-effectiveness. Improved Internet functionality enabled new schemes of communication with multimedia or webcams. The National Center for Education Statistics estimate the number of K-12 students enrolled in online distance learning programs increased by 65% from 2002 to 2005. With greater flexibility, ease of communication between teacher and student, and quick lecture and assignment feedback. According to a 2008 study conducted by the U.S. Department of Education, During the 2006-2007 academic year, about 66% of post-secondary public and private schools participating in student financial aid programs offered some distance learning courses. Records show 77% of enrollment in for-credit courses with an online component. In 2008, the Council of Europe passed a statement endorsing e-learning's potential to drive equality and education improvements across the EU. Today, the prevailing paradigm is computer-mediated communication, where the primary interaction is between learners and instructors, mediated by the computer. CBT/CBL usually means individualized learning, while CMC involves educator-tutor facilitation and requires seniorization of flexible learning activities. In addition, modern ICT provides education with tools for sustaining learning communities and associated knowledge management tasks. Students growing up in this digital age have extensive exposure to a variety of media. Major high-tech companies such as Google, Verizon, Microsoft are funding schools to provide him the ability to teach their students through technology, which may lead to improved student performance. Theory. Various pedagogical perspectives or learning theories may be considered in designing and interacting with educational technology. E-learning theory examines these approaches. These theoretical perspectives are grouped into three main theoretical schools or philosophical frameworks: behaviorism, cognitivism and constructivism. Behaviorism. This theoretical framework was developed in the early 20th century based on animal learning experiments by Ivan Pavlov, Edward Thorndike, Edward C. Tolman, Clark L. Hull, and B.F. Skinner. Many psychologists use these results to develop theories of human learning, but modern educators generally see behaviorism as one aspect of a holistic synthesis. B.F. Skinner wrote extensively on improvements of teaching based on his functional analysis of verbal behavior and wrote The Technology of Teaching, an attempt to dispel the myths underlying contemporary education as well as promote his system he called programmed instruction. Ogden Lindsley developed a learning system, named Celleration, that was based on behavior analysis but that substantially differed from Keller's and Skinner's models. Cognitivism. Cognitive science underwent significant change in the 1960s and 1970s, while retaining the empirical framework of behaviorism. Cognitive psychology theories look beyond behavior to explain brain-based learning by considering how human memory works to promote learning. The Atkinson-Shiffrin memory model and Baddeley's working memory model were established as theoretical frameworks. Computer science and information technology have had a major influence on cognitive science theory. The cognitive concepts of working memory and long-term memory have been facilitated by research and technology from the field of computer science. Another major influence on the field of cognitive science is Noam Chomsky. Today researchers are concentrating on topics like cognitive load, information processing and media psychology. These theoretical perspectives influence instructional design. Constructivism. Educational psychologists distinguish between several types of constructivism. Individual constructivism, such as Piaget's theory of cognitive development, and social constructivism. This form of constructivism has a primary focus on how learners construct their own meaning from new information, as they interact with reality and with other learners who bring different perspectives. Constructivist learning environments require students to use their prior knowledge and experiences to formulate new, related, and/or adaptive concepts in learning. Under this framework, the role of the teacher becomes that of a facilitator, providing guidance so that learners can construct their own knowledge. Constructivist educators must make sure that the prior learning experiences are appropriate and related to the concepts being taught. Jonason suggests, well-structured learning environments are useful for novice learners and that ill-structured environments are only useful for more advanced learners. Educators utilizing a constructivist perspective may emphasize an active learning environment that may incorporate learner-centered problem-based learning, project-based learning, and inquiry-based learning, ideally involving real-world scenarios, in which students are actively engaged in critical thinking activities. An illustrative discussion and example can be found in the 1980s deployment of constructivist cognitive learning in computer literacy, which involved programming as an instrument of learning. Logo, a programming language, embodied an attempt to integrate Piaget-ian ideas with computers and technology. Initially there were broad, hopeful claims, including, perhaps the most controversial claim, that it would improve general problem-solving skills across disciplines. However, Logo programming skills did not consistently yield cognitive benefits. It was not as concrete as advocates claimed. It privileged one form of reasoning over all others, and it was difficult to apply the thinking activity to non-Logo-based activities. By the late 1980s, Logo and other similar programming languages had lost their novelty and dominance and were gradually de-emphasized amid criticisms, including logocentric related criticisms put forth by a number of postmodern thinkers including Jacques Derrida in his work entitled Writing in Difference.